Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I am looking at Incredible Hulk number 335. Let's keep looking at this Peter David run. I'm really enjoying seeing how it's developing so far, especially with the McFarlane art. Unfortunately, we don't get McFarlane in this issue, but that's okay. We actually get a pretty cool artist on this one that I was unfamiliar with, but actually it turns out I am familiar with. So it's kind of a fill-in issue, and even the storyline is kind of a fill-in, so we don't get like a lot of the plot development that Peter David's building up to in his run, but it's just, this is a good one-off Hulk story, especially for the Gray Hulk, I think. It works best with him. It's a little bit of a horror issue. I mean, it has a September cover date. That means it probably came out really in the summer, though. So I don't know. It's not really even like it came out for Halloween. It was probably just fill in a stock issue that, McFarlane needed a break. He was pulling double duty, finishing up stuff at DC, working on this Hulk run. He's really not too far out from starting Spider-Man run. So I'm sure this was just like to give him a breather. Because it's not really progressing the plot forward, it was probably one of those like banked issues that they have somebody else do. But it works out because in the last issue, the Hulk had left Bruce Banner kind of trapped in a cave where he turns into Banner during daytime. The Hulk knows the sun's coming up, and he's been trying to like leave Banner to where he can't get anyone to help him until he turns back into the Hulk at night. So that's kind of where we left off last issue. So in this one, we get this girl, and she's, scared of something in her bed. That's pretty much what the narration is about here. And it turns out there is something under her bed. This hand comes up and seems to scratch her, or rips her nightgown. And this cloaked character comes out with this hat on. This reminds me of, I think it was Deathstalker, is a character from the Daredevil run. I guess it'd been around before, but the first Frank Miller art issue wrapped up a storyline. It kind of reminds me of that, but it's still not that same character. So she is, of course, terrified by this and runs out screaming, and he scratches her face there. I mean, this is a mainstream comic code approved book, so we're not going to get too gory, but I mean, you get the gist of what's happening right there. And she's covering her face as she runs out. I really like the figure work and stuff so far in this issue. I like the deep shadows we're getting. Good, panel orientation as we turn. We start with the back from him, and it turns to the front. I really dig this. She runs out into the street. Of course, the character follows her. This almost has like a 1970s DC horror comics feel to it, like a House of Mystery or something, like the art style. So I'm really liking it. She bumps into this figure. You can tell it's the Hulk. There's ripped clothes. He's real big. She's asking for help. She has pink blood on her eyes because we probably can't show deep red blood yet for some reason. And then we get the splash page of the Hulk. This is a very, while not drawn Kirby-esque, this reminds me of a Kirby-style Hulk from Hulk number 1. Like the look of him for the most part. The artist is John Ridgway, who, when I looked who the artist was, I was like, I'm not familiar with John Ridgway. So I looked him up, and he actually is known mostly for, he's an English artist, and he's mostly known for a lot of 2000 AD stuff, some Judge Dredd stuff. I'm not particularly well versed in, but he also did the early issues of the Hellblazer run, which I have read. And I remember liking the art in that. I don't remember it being quite the same style. I've got a trade of it somewhere. I'll pull it out and look at it. But I found that kind of interesting. So you got somebody who was doing a pseudo horror book in the Hellblazer book. And this is probably before he did that, though. Or pretty close to the same time. This is 1987. So yeah, pretty close. He's also known for doing Judge Dredd. And I guess he was known for being the first one to get to draw Judge Dredd without his helmet on. Although what I read was he didn't have his helmet on, but his face was like scarred really bad from like some acid bath or something that happened to him. But he got to do it first, I guess, right? Anyway, so she runs out. She runs into the Hulk. So this shadowy guy comes out and confronts the Hulk, and he's kind of like feels some kind of kindred spirit in the Hulk as he's chasing this girl. He's like, I can help you. I mean, always people trying to tempt the Hulk with kind of knowing that there's a Banner, and they're trying to he doesn't want Banner anymore, and they're always trying to tempt him with that. But the Hulk, already feeling a little burned by the leader who just did the same thing to him not too long ago, is hesitant about it. He's like, yeah, that sounds good, but not this time. And just then, when the police show up, it startles the cloaked figure, and he vanishes. I don't think they do a great job here. Maybe it's just the coloring, because he just turns white, and that could be just a blast from the lights of the car. But it's not clear that he's vanished until they say that he just disappeared. So the girl goes to the police, and they're like looking at the Hulk, and what's he say? Don't worry, I won't let him hurt you. And he's like, you got that right. Pretty good shot of the Hulk's face right there, too. So to demonstrate that, the cops mean nothing to him, he knocks the top off of a fire hydrant, which of course is going to throw extreme water pressure straight up, and he just sticks his face in it to get a drink. And then reaches up. It's like, that's better. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. It's daytime now. We meet a boy at a filling station, and they're discussing what happened to the girl last night. Odd, it's like a full service station. I don't know where they're doing that. I don't think it really said in the story where this is taking place. And in the hospital, this is very TV show-like. In the hospital, now Bruce is, I guess he's stolen some doctor's clothes, and he's going in to check on the girl. Because if you've watched any of the other videos I've shown so far, Bruce has hazy memories of what's going on with the Hulk. And vice versa, the Hulk has hazy memories of what's happening with Bruce, and they try to influence each other to some degree. So in this one, I guess the Hulk remembered the girl from the Hulk's memories, and he stole some doctor's clothes and goes in to talk to her, and I think he's wanting to know if it was the Hulk that did it to her. Nice shadow there of the Hulk's profile. And when he leaves, the real doctor comes in, starts asking her kind of similar questions. He's like, I just told Dr. Banner everything. She's like, we don't have a Dr. Banner on staff here. Now we're going to follow the boy from the service station, and he goes to a video rental store when they had those. And he's renting horror movies. And the guy at the rental store is like, don't you ever get tired of watching these slasher movies and this stuff? I think in there too, I should say, she mentioned something about the boy. So Bruce follows him home. He sees him. He wants to see what's going on with him, and he follows him home. And the boy is watching these slasher movies, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, and that's what he sits around and he drinks, and he's just watching these movies. And he does have a crush on the girl, who I believe his name is Addie. And not ironically, he puts in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And that's what he falls asleep to. And at the same time, the sun is going down. We get a transformation juxtaposed with the Jekyll and Hyde transformation on the TV. Interesting layout there. Probably not the best Hulk transformation scene I've ever had, but I think when you mix it with the Jekyll and Hyde theme there, it works. And like I said, I am enjoying for the most part the line work in this, and not the simplicity of the storytelling, but the horror vibe of classic horror comic vibe it's giving. And now the Hulk's watching, and the apparition comes out of the boy, and it's our cloaked figure from the night before. So he starts to leave the house, and the Hulk confronts him. And again, he's like, why don't you cut loose with me, and you'll see what it's like to... He's like, I actually control the boy. I can only come out at night like you, but I'm really the one in control. So maybe if you cut loose like me, you'll have control of your daytime counterpart as well. So they go to a bar, and the shadowy figure here is telling the Hulk that these 4 guys have been accused of assaulting a girl. They just use the word assault, and bragging about it in front of Gil, who is the boy's name, at the service station. So that's how he knows that it's going on. And they got off. They covered each other's tracks with the police, so nothing happened to him. So he's basically enticing the Hulk to punish them and just have fun doing it. Because he's saying, maybe you're, like, here's some bad guys. Let's go take them out so you can indulge in your dark side. And the Hulk is kind of like, well, let's see if you can do it. The shadow guy goes in, and he definitely starts whipping up on him pretty good. These like fingernails and stuff. I like his design. This isn't a character I'd necessarily want like a multiple issue storyline going with, but I do enjoy him for this one bit here. So he takes one back out to the Hulk, and he's like, here, you finish him off. And the Hulk says, okay, you talked me into it. I never could have doubted. Hey, wait, not me, you fool. And the Hulk goes to punch him, and he rips out of his cape, his cloak, and just starts running away. And the boy's still asleep, and the guy takes the car. It's never explained how he gets this power, really. It's just something that happens, which, whatever, it's comics. Let's roll with it for this one thing. Smashes the car, and he gets over there he gets back, and he wants the boy to wake up so that he feels like he'll be safe inside the boy. Of course, what's stopping the Hulk from just smashing him, knowing that this thing comes out of him? That's a pretty cool panel, too. It's not super splashy, but it definitely has, like I said earlier, it's got that like early Hulk issue feel to it, where there's just a car crashing into the Hulk. Bronk. Gil. That's the boy's name, is Gil. I think I said that before. So Gil's not waking up. He's probably too drunk, and the Hulk just punches a hole through him. You get that horror scream from outside the house. And now the girl from the beginning is getting out. She's probably been blinded. And now the boy is kind of like in a coma. Nice panel transition up here too. This is Bruce walking in. So you see him kind of there. I like the way it bleeds from one panel to the other, even though it's like they're coming towards him and now they've walked past him. So she's saying she heard about Gil and she feels bad for him. Bruce goes in and he calls the shadowy figure the Stalker. The Stalker's gone, Gil. He's dead. But that's the problem, isn't it? His evil consumed you until there was only he. No joy, no soul. Just overwhelming hatred. Without that hatred, you've nothing left except a shell. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. Except, who am I to say your eulogies? Perhaps more appropriate would be, there before the grace of God I go. The end. All right, this is a good letters page to look at because it's actually talking about the first issue of Peter David's run altogether. And I was kind of curious in how fans were reacting to the complete status quo change of the Hulk, with him, going from a green character to a gray character, and from ditching the mindless bestial aspects to a, semi-smart, cunning, and witting character. The first few are very positive, of course. They're going to give you the positive spin first. But this guy is saying a lot of the things that I said. Dear crew, Dear crew, so now Destiny of the Hulk lies in the capable hands of Peter David. This mag has been without a clear direction for quite a while. Milgram took him out of those ridiculous shorts, gave him his intelligence, and changed his complexion. Now it's your turn. Up to bat, Peter. The way the Hulk is portrayed now is the best he's been in a long time. By far, the most disastrous period in the line of this magazine was those Hulk with Banner's brain stories. By doing that, Bill Mantlo essentially wrote out the main character. He became just Bruce Banner and the Hulk's empty shell. Now the Hulk is back, more intelligent than his old Hulk smash days, but at least his intellect is his own. He's become the ultimate big bully. Again, wrap up the Rick Jones Hulk storyline and concentrate on the big guy. Couldn't agree more with that, Dan, and that's exactly what Peter David did. I do find it interesting because, spoiler alert, we do get the merged Professor Hulk eventually on this book. Although, still quite a bit different than what Bill Mantlo did. He put meekish, kind of puny Banner in the Hulk's body, whereas the merged Hulk still had a little bit of this gray Hulk meanness with Green Hulk strength mixed in. As for the other characters in this magazine, perhaps a complete overhaul is needed. Betty Ross looked promising when she first came back, but has quickly reverted to the whiny character she was before. Again, I agree. I'm not a big fan of Betty. And get rid of the Hulkbuster garbage. Again, I agree. Talk about recycled plots. The two main pursuers of the Hulk, Ross and Talbot, are gone, and we don't need a whole gang to follow in their footsteps. Don't just suddenly change the Hulk's skin back to green because of outcry by fans. If Mr. David does his usual superb job of storytelling, it won't matter what color he is. Many people can't get into this mag because they feel the Hulk is one-dimensional character without any chance of development. Here's your chance to prove them wrong. And, not to throw the Bill Mantlo run completely under the bus. He was on the Hulk for a long time, and that merged or Banner with the Hulk's body storyline was really only maybe a year and a half worth of Hulk stories. So, out of all the stuff Bill Mantlo did, that wasn't a huge part. But I do agree, and I think Peter David would agree, that the Savage Hulk only went so far back then. And this was a much needed fresh take on the character. And reverting back to the early incarnation of, from issue number 1 was a good idea. This letter is basically kind of saying the same thing and pointing out that it's more Jekyll and Hyde now than Frankenstein's monster. They pointed out using the leader again, and we're looking forward to interacting with more classic Hulk villains along the way. They also point out meeting up against Freedom Force, which was Mystique's kind of government team that she had that had Avalanche and Pyro and the Blob in it. We do get that eventually. Now, it's still a ways to go, but it's funny that I wonder if Peter David made note of that. Yeah, let me get to that eventually. It's still a few years away, at least in the numerology here, but he does do that. That's kind of funny. And then there's one that's kind of complaining about it reverting back to the Hulk number 1. And they make some valid points that those first 6 issues of The Incredible Hulk are very experimental. You can tell that neither Stan or Jack really knew what they wanted to do with the character. In the first issue, he turned to the gray Hulk at night, and in the next issue he was green, and it was really just arbitrarily because the printing press of the color didn't work. They wanted him to be gray, but it didn't work out. Make him green. And he was green from that point on. But he was still kind of the gray Hulk personality-wise. He was very mean and cynical, but not dumb. He wasn't, he definitely took the name Hulk because the soldiers called him that, but he didn't speak like Hulk smash and Hulk do this, Hulk do that. He would say I'm the Hulk, and the Hulk goes where the Hulk wants to go. Things like that. They also point out how Banner used a kind of gamma ray, not a gun, but a thing that he self-induced some gamma changing back and forth So they were quickly getting away from that, like he only changes at night thing. And that was never really used again after those first initial issues. So they kind of, like, one was praising Peter David for bringing that in, and another one was kind of saying, like, there's a reason they issued that stuff. Why do we need to bring it back? Valid points, but, you know, I think it worked overall. But I think the biggest thing I got out of this letters column is people were kind of on the same page I am about it, that a lot of the stuff between, John Byrne was coming on the title, and he had the Hulk and Banner separated. He formed the Hulkbusters that Banner was actually the leader of. And then he quickly left the title. He left to go to DC to reboot Superman. And so Al Milgrom took over, and the title just kind of wandered around for a little bit until Peter David came on and like really took the reins of the Gray Hulk and the Gray personality and started running with it. And we're already seeing the fruits of that labor. This issue aside, this is a really solid one-off issue, but we're not seeing that plot development with the leader. And the last issue we saw the revelation that there's a gamma bomb, or the government is testing gamma bombs within the year of the story being told. So anyway, interesting letters column to see how people reacted. Not many people mentioned McFarlane's art, although one guy did say that it reminded him of Bob Layton, and they hope that he develops into his own style. So kind of funny when you think about McFarlane. Definitely one of the most identifiable styles in all of comics history. So it's funny that they said he looked a lot like Bob Layton. My guess is there was some editorial control. There was also him coming over to Marvel and probably just trying to like find his way, not only at Marvel, but as an artist as well. And I just found that kind of funny. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Hulk number 335. Until next time, read your comics.